Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. Good morning. Our minister is Reverend Bob Janis-Dillon. I am Liz Thomas, the worship assistant for this morning. We are excited to have attendees both in person in the sanctuary as well as virtually via Zoom. A big welcome to everyone wherever you're attending. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed and welcomes all seekers. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here. We are guided by a set of principles and written sources that encompass the many ways we come to know and understand the world, the universe, and the divine. Our principles are important to us at UU Catskills, and we live our values on a daily basis. We affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and we are an active voice in the effort to address climate change. Community circles connect members with others that live in their local community. There are 9 circles in different areas who meet monthly in person or online through Zoom. If you would like to get in touch with the circle in your area, please contact the office administrator. If you would like to contact someone at UU Catskills, for those attending online, a contact list is shown on your screen. If you are a visitor and would like to be added to our mailing list, you can put your name and email address in the chat box area on Zoom. We encourage you to read our February newsletter that is distributed through our email list. And you can always visit our website, uucatskills.org, to find contact information if you'd like to be added to the mailing list or to find the latest newsletter. Upcoming events for the month are in the newsletter, and there are several for this coming week. This evening, Sunday, at 7 p.m., the Grief Support Group will be meeting. Tuesday, the Climate Action Team meets at 5 p.m. And Thursday, Bedtime Story and More is at 7 p.m. It's a peaceful, joyful time of connection. Children and youth of all ages are welcome. There are a few announcements. This is tax season, and the 2021 tax statements have been mailed to everyone for donations made this past year. If you have not received your statement, please contact the treasurer, Karma Haas. She will be available after the service. The Climate Action Team has a fundraiser with True Earth, a provider of environment-friendly home products. So that UU Catskills will receive 20% of your purchase price, please make your purchase through a link given on our website using the donate button and scrolling down to other ways to contribute. You can also donate money to this fundraiser. At this time, Paula Silby and Kathy Kastner would like to make announcements. Please come on up.
Whether you have a zest for life or an axe to grind, we hope you will dial in and donate to our collection of personal care items and laundry detergent, hopefully from True Earth, and help support Ulster Immigrant Defense Network. It's no secret that UU Catskills is an affiliate of UIDN. So be sure to check the Tuesday and Friday email updates for information on how to donate your products. If you come today or next Sunday, there are bins in the hallway where you can drop things off. We are aiming for 100% participation. Remember, there's no ban on donating. And when you do, we'll think you are very generous and suave.
Well, that is a hard act to follow. Liz already mentioned that the Climate Action Team. I'm Kathy Kasner from the Climate Action Team, and we're doing the fundraiser with True Earth. And many of us have been using these for quite some time, and I just wanted to show you what they look like. These are the eco strips for doing laundry. No mess of liquids. Just drop one in. If you have really dirty stuff, you might need more. If you have a small load, you could even rip them off. But this box contains enough for 384 loads, and look how light and easy it is. So you're going to lower your carbon footprint just because of the moving and transportation of that. And right now they have a Love Your Planet sale, which that's really what I wanted to say. It ends tomorrow for Valentine's Day. You can get this box, which for me, since my children moved out, will be lasting probably 5 years or more, unless I share. And they're sending you 2 free packets, 32 loads each. So there would be nice and easy to donate then to those who might need them. So try to make sure you order using our link, and as she said, we will get 20% off. This is an ongoing thing. A lot of people thought that this might be ending, but it's just the sale that ends tomorrow, and we'll be doing this going forward. So if you're not ready to buy, you can always do it in the future. There are also other products besides this.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Paula. Next Sunday, February 20th, Reverend Bob will again be in the pulpit, and on Sunday, February 27th, Julio Torres will be back with us from London. Thank you to everyone who is assisting with today's service. Our hybrid services are made possible by our technical team. Bruce Wilde, who is here at the sanctuary, provides for our live streaming from the pulpit, and our Zoom host this week is Jenny Giddy, and our usher is Kristen Shara. After the service, for those attending via Zoom, please stay for our breakout rooms for a virtual coffee break. For our prelude this morning, Catherine Catabiani will perform At a Certain Church by John W. Work.
How precious it is when people join together in peace. Psalm 133 writes, it's like warm oil on the skin, and after last weekend's ice storm, we're all appreciating warmth. So thank you for joining us, whether you're joining us from home, whether you braved it come here in the sanctuary through the snow. We're so glad that you've chosen to spend this hour with us. What a marvelous opportunity this is to be together in community and feel the warmth of community. So it's good to be together. An extra thank you to Bill, Don, Paul, I'm sure I'm forgetting people, and our amazing multi-talented Buildings and Grounds Chair, Vicky, for clearing the way to today. We had some tree limbs and things in the way, but we're here in person, virtually together. It's a great, great thing. And there are socks. We also collect socks. Anything that people need, we will collect here at the congregation. We begin our time of reflection and worship here with lighting the chalice, which is a symbol of the light of truth and the fire of community. As Liz lights our chalice this morning, I invite you to say with me our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice in grateful, loving community. Even in the darkest of times, may its flame light its path to courage, justice, and hope. And now our words of affirmation. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated but connected in wonder and joy, mystery and miracle, in the universe, in this community, and in this each other. Our opening words for reflection this week, where the theme for this month is widening the circle, all the different ways we might widen the circle. And this service draws from our Universalist tradition, which I'll say more about later. But these opening words are by the Reverend Michel Legrave. We gather together. We gather together. We arrive as individuals, as couples, as families, as neighbors, as friends. We got here by walking, it says by biking, which well done if you did, by riding, by driving, by connecting. We bring with us our joys and our sorrows, our laughter and our tears, our worries and our fears, our questions and our beliefs, our ethics and our values. Some of us arrived a long time ago, early this morning, or joined 5 minutes ago, or encountered obstacles on their way, or will arrive just in time for the sermon, or will sign online later this week or even next month. We are sitting in chairs, leaning on walkers or canes, stretching in the aisles, settling in wheelchairs, and relaxing in recliners. We, members, friends, and visitors alike, come from many paths and join together as one congregation to lift up our highest ideals. We have gathered. Now, let us worship. We will sing our opening hymn. Come, come, whoever you are.
All right, so BC, before COVID, we used to do this as a round. You want to try it again? Okay. We'll do it with the piano. We'll do it in unison together, and then we'll divide that group starting first, this group starting second, and people on Zoom can choose a part. Whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper.
What a caravan we are. Thank you. So my children's story had a prop which someone has lovingly moved because it was very conspicuous and it was right there. And I'm not naming any names. Look at that. And I do mean lovingly because somebody saw it and said, that looks really out of place. Each week we have, each week we have a Wonder Box story which is introduced by our Box of Wonders to show that there are wonders in this world and that we can live with a sense of wonder in this world. And I don't know if anyone can guess what's in our Wonder Box today. But if you, any guesses? It is indeed a cleaning machine. It is a mop today. So I wonder what a mop might possibly have to do with this theme of, we're talking about love today and the Universalist tradition of love. And there is a story about mopping the floor that's kind of sacred, really important in our tradition. It comes from somebody called the Reverend Hosea Ballou, which is a great name. And Hosea Ballou was a Universalist minister around these parts, actually. And he traveled wide and far telling people about love. And the basic doctrine of Universalism, which we'll hear more about later, was that everybody was going to heaven, which was a terribly scandalous belief, that everyone was going to heaven, that God loved everyone. And so a lot of people did not believe this, and Hosea Ballou faced a lot of conversations and arguments in his life, and he was a very creative person. And one time he was staying with somebody who was not a Universalist, and she was mopping the floor. And I don't know if you've ever mopped the floor. I have done occasionally mop the floor. But as she was about to mop the floor, and she said, "You can't really believe that. You know, there are so many things wrong with people. You know, people have so much sin, terrible things that people have done. You know, how could God, you know, create a heaven where everybody goes?" And Hosea Ballou looked around and thought about it, and he said, "You're not going to mop the floor, are you?" And she said, "Yeah, of course I'm going to mop the floor. That's what I'm doing." And he said, "You're not going to trade it in for another floor?" And she said, "No, I can't afford to trade it in for another floor." And he goes, "But what about all those spots and all those stains and all those terrible marks?" And she said, "Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean it up just as it is." And Hosea Ballou said, "That's what God does. That cleans up just as we are. And just as we are, we all are sanctified, to use an old-fashioned word. But we all are loved by the divine force, which some of us know as God, some of us call it by other names, some of us call by other concepts and metaphors." So that was Hosea Ballou's explanation. Now, I don't know the end of this. Whether the woman became a Universalist or not, I don't know. But he was very grateful to her because she was his host, and she was acting towards him. So Hosea Ballou also knew the love of this unnamed woman, and I wish I knew who she was, but it's not said in the story. And so I think of that story as I had to mop up the floor this morning because I left footprints all over it. So there was a real-world application to this. But it makes me think that we all are loved as we are. We don't have to be perfect to be loved. And it's one thing to say it, but it's another to believe it, that we're loved simply as we are. And love is active, right? Love, I mean, we don't know God's love. We don't know much as human beings if we believe in God or if we don't. But we know how love is active in our own lives, that we can do the work of mopping the floor. And so no matter what has happened in our life, no matter how cynical or weary or downtrodden or how many challenges we face which may seem insurmountable, we can still do the loving work, the work of mopping the floor, the work of tending one another, and the work of love makes everything look beautiful. Just like my kitchen works if I was a better mopper, but it does have a nice shine to it. So, that's the story about Hosea Ballou and Universalism and how we are all worthy of love, and we all can also do the acts of love, do the actions of love in our own lives, and just how we are together. So we're going to have a reading that is very much in the same vein. Hosea Ballou was a 19th century Universalist. I hope that whoever mopped the floor used the environmental friendly products of their day. I'm sure that they did because everything was environmentally friendly back then. But the reading today is by a evangelical Christian, actually, by the name of Rob Bell, who began to question the doctrine of hell from his own tradition and questioned how it could be real, and became He doesn't even call himself a universalist now, but he questioned whether, if Hindus and Muslims and Buddhists, surely we're all going to the same place and loved in the same vein. And he got in a lot of trouble with his colleagues and some of his parishioners, and he came out with a book, Love Wins, which is the title of this service, Love Wins, that talks about how everlasting hell and a loving God may not go as well together as some think. And although this reading contains some language that is critical of some aspects of Rob Bell's own tradition, Christianity, it's important to note that Rob Bell is still very much a Christian. I believe he considers himself a spiritual leader and progressive leader. And he produces a podcast on spirituality and leadership called The Robcast. So here is a reading from the book Love Wins by Rob Bell.
Love Wins, Chapter 1. What about the flat tire? Several years ago, we had an art show at our church. I had been giving a series of teachings on peacemaking, and we invited artists to display their paintings, poems, and sculptures that reflected their understanding of what it means to be a peacemaker. One woman included in her work a quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which a number of people found quite compelling, but not everyone. Someone attached a piece of paper to it. On the piece of paper was written, "Reality check, he's in hell." Really? Gandhi's in hell? He is. We have confirmation on this. Somebody knows this, without a doubt, and that somebody decided to take on the responsibility of letting the rest of us know. Of all the billions of people who have ever lived, will only a select number make it to a better place, and every single other person suffer in torment and punishment forever? Is this acceptable to God? Has God created millions of people over tens of thousands of years who are going to spend eternity in anguish? Can God do this, or even allow this, and still claim to be a loving God? Does God punish people for thousands of years with infinite, eternal torment for things they did in their few, finite years of life? This doesn't just raise disturbing questions about God. It raises questions about the beliefs themselves. Why them? Why you? Why me? Why not him or her or them? If there are only a select few who go to heaven, which is more terrifying to fathom, the billions who burn forever, or the few who escape this fate, how does a person end up being one of the few? Chance? Luck? Random selection? Being born in the right place, family, or country? Having a youth pastor who relates better to the kids? God choosing you instead of others? What kind of a faith is that? Or more important, what kind of a God is that? If we want hell, if we want heaven, they are ours. That's how love works. It can't be forced, manipulated, or coerced. It always leaves room for the other to decide. God says yes, we can have what we want because love wins.
Before we have our joys and sorrows, we start with a truly great joy in this expanding circle of love, as the theme is today, in welcoming a new member to our community here at UU Catskills. A few of you may know Kathy Atwell, and if you don't, I hope you'll say hi to her when you get the chance. So I'd like to invite Kathy and Ellen Harrington up to the front.
We didn't even plan it, we match.
Look at that. And Ellen, if you'd like to say a few words of Kathy's introduction.
I'm going to get started. From her own words, I first came to learn about UU as a congregation when I became the temporary administrative assistant in 2006 for the UU of Tippecanoe County, Indiana. After leaving that position, I stayed involved, however marginally, with the people and activities
I knew many of the members and felt at home. I was raised in the United Church of Christ in Indianapolis, Indiana, which was my grandparents' and parents' church. I never really felt this faith fit me, and when I was at the age where I could make my own decision to attend, I stopped going. My brother and I, along with my parents and grandparents, were born in Indianapolis, Indiana. My family moved to West Lafayette, Indiana, when I was 15 years old, and I left in 2020 when I was 73 years old. Needless to say, I was deeply embedded in the community and missed seeing people I knew anywhere I went. Needing to sell my large house, I decided to move east to be closer to my daughter, where I could make all my own decisions rather than having my decisions made for me. Welcome.
So, Kathy, speaking of making your own decisions, if you freely are willing to go with the principles and purposes of this community of love and creedless community of love, and join the traditions of this congregation, we warmly welcome you. So we invite you to officially become a member by signing a
Down here?
membership. Yes, or put it there.
Okay. And, I don't know, what is today, the 13th?
Thank you. Yep.
And then let's just put, she's got Port Ewing. I live in Port Ewing, but it's still, it still takes me by surprise sometimes to write that down.
Well, welcome to Port Ewing and welcome to this community. We are so delighted that you're joining our strength, your strength to ours, and everyone, friends and members. So that is a great joy to begin our time of joys and sorrows, which is something we have occasionally here at the fellowship, which is an invitation for people to share momentous events in your life or in the world, to share what's going on, and we hold those in reflection and care and compassion and prayer. If anybody is online, you can put those in the chat. We're still figuring out the technology to have you. To hear you, but if you put them in the chat, we can read them. And anyone here, if you're willing to raise your hand for a joy or a sorrow. So, and I need the mic.
Hi, my name is Abby Mitchell, and I have a great joy that my friend Wendy Roberts is finally home from hospital and rehab. She had a triple heart bypass about 2 months ago, and she's finally home.
Wendy Roberts, for health and healing and gratitude, with gratitude. Yes.
I'm starting a new job tomorrow.
Wow. Congratulations and blessings on the new job. That's wonderful. We have one from Amy, a joy that Amy's friends, excuse me one second, that Amy's friends Alyssa and Stephen had a baby boy, Arthur. So for Arthur, welcome to the world, and delight to be shared with your parents and with all your friends. Welcome, Arthur. And one from Diane and Debbie, who are hoping for some good energy this morning for Elijah and for them, so that we can all navigate our latest chapter. Sending good energy your way, Debbie and Diane and Elijah. And one from David Budd, joyful in continuing training in art therapy right here in Kingston. I find it very inspiring. So for the inspiration of art training. Well, and one from Christy Bellici. Our niece is going to have a baby this summer, so for new delights on the way. I think we should probably have a collective stone for the ice storm. I know it was Some got through relatively easily, including myself, and some had a really rough weekend. We're so grateful for neighbors and friends who looked out for each other and the care that was given, and now we're really appreciating the warmth and the necessities of life. So with gratitude for all who helped out through that very difficult patch.
One more from Anna Gutierrez.
Thank you.
Sorry for my improving health after being ill all of January.
We rejoice with you, Anna, on improving health. We'll put one more stone in there for all the, to represent that there are many joys and sorrows that may be on people's hearts this hour, big and small, and they are held in this community of care with love for all the people of this community and all the people of the world and all beings. In our Universalist tradition, we hold one another in care and compassion. We'll have a little spoken meditation here, followed by a little time of silence for personal reflection. Spirit of love, known by some as God and some simply as love itself. We give thanks for all in this life that draws us outside of ourselves and into a wider reality than our own ego. We think of the people that we care for, the people that we love, the people that are on our hearts this hour, including those who may be struggling at the moment. They bring out our compassion, and we pray for healing and love. There's much to be worried about, much that lies uneasily on the heart. We are worried about the threat of war. We continue our angst about the destruction of our climate through humankind's endless production of waste and detritus, and all that threatens to divide us arbitrarily into our side and the other side. We reflect how this world might be a better place if we put a little less investment in things and money and attended again to our relationships. Spirit of love, help us to love one another better. The recent ice storm has reminded us again of how important we are to each other, of how we need one another. In a world where nothing else is quite so important, nothing else nearly so meaningful, may love win the day, today and all days. We know peace in our lives, in our communities and in our world. Our offering this morning will be shared, and will be shared throughout February, with the A.J. Williams Myers African Roots Center. Established in 2017, the A.J. Williams Myers African Roots Center celebrates the diverse cultural roots of people in our community, uplifts the history and culture of Black, Indigenous, and people of color, and does so with programs for children, teens, and adults, and through their library collection, and by making our space available to community groups and organizations that share our commitment to the advancement of historical and social justice. So we're excited to partner with the A.J. Williams Myers Center, so all of donations will be shared this month with the center. As ever, you can give online at UU Catskills or donate, or you can text to 833-643-0430, or you can give via check or in person. You don't have to give anything, you're our guest, but we rely on the generosity of members and friends. That's what allows us to be. So we are a gathering of generosity, and we are grateful for all the ways, including money and many other ways, that people generously give to this community of love. So with that, we will have our offering. The offertory this week is Lady Bird, written by Tad Damron. Thank you for your generosity that allows this place to be and to grow, and our circle of love to widen. Well, as you may have heard, it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So if you have a sweetie, whether that be a life partner, romantic partner, a family member you're fond of, or a beloved pet companion, if you have a sweetie, I suppose you ought to do the done thing and get a box of chocolates or whatever. Or not, you can decry the holiday as a rampant commercialization of our most precious emotions and boycott it in protest. Or maybe just write a homemade card to be on the safe side. A lot of people attest that Valentine's Day is pretty much a made-up holiday, but a lot of people also like cards and chocolate, and sometimes these are the same people. But it's a day of love tomorrow. Today, I forgot, is the Super. I don't even mention the Super Bowl, which the Bengals will win 30-24 in overtime. You only have to be right once, and then you're hailed as a prophet. So I keep trying every year. Now, when I talk about love, which is what I want to talk about today. When I talk about love, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said in his speeches, when I talk about love, I'm not talking about emotional bosh. I'm not talking about some weak, sentimental something. I'm talking about something strong and powerful. I'm talking about something that is active goodwill, not just a passive, dead something. Like Dr. King, and with none of his rhetorical skills, sadly, I want to talk about love here today, and I want to ask the question here today, does love really rule the universe? Loads of people say it does, right? That love rules the universe. We know that. Hear it from preachers and spiritual types, poets and singers and movie screenwriters. Love, love, love. And I want us to take a long look at it this morning because it's an important question, isn't it? We can say it, we can make a nice movie or a nice sermon about it, and it's good, but if it's just emotional bosh, then we're ignoring the heart of it. If love really does rule the universe, that makes for a very different universe than if love is a little trite distraction that we trot out sometimes. A distraction from the horrors of the human condition and the overwhelming difficulties of mortal life, which we all know to some degree. Does love rule the universe? I preach this sermon from within the Unitarian Universalist tradition, and that's significant among other reasons because Universalism was based around the idea that God's love has the ultimate victory, even after we die. Or as Rob Bell had put it in his book, Love Wins, as we heard in the reading, love wins at the end. Love wins. Rob Bell led an evangelical church in Michigan that at its peak drew about 10,000 people on a Sunday. And I don't know our viewing figures today, but I suspect they're a little bit less. And though he doesn't call himself a universalist, Rob Bell expressed some of the same doubts and some of the same convictions of our universalist forebears. Would a loving God really consign some people to hell? Divide the world into the sinners and the saved? Is God really waiting for people to choose the right religion? And if we tick the wrong box between Hinduism and Buddhism and Catholicism and Baptist or Quaker or Methodist, he'll say, wah, you lose, thanks for playing. Universalists believed and still believe that God is love. And therefore, eternal hell could not possibly be God's final solution for most of humanity. God does not create a human being, put it through a series of arcane tests on religious doctrine, and then discard them into a fiery pit of eternal torture. That's a man-made torture. That's a man-made fantasy. And it can be a torture, an emotional torture, just as an idea. That's a man-made fantasy and a cruel man-made fantasy at that. I don't want to focus the whole sermon on the afterlife here today. I want to talk about love in this life. I don't know what happens to us after we die. I don't think any of us know for sure. I do feel, having been on the edge of life with quite a few folks over the years, I do vaguely feel that there is this kind of a peace, a kind of serenity that surrounds our life. And this has given me comfort, this sense. But whether that means a literal heaven or just that the stuff that makes us up is returned gently back to the universe to take on other forms, I don't really know for sure. The question that really urgently concerns me, though, the question that I think is of the utmost importance is, does love win here on earth? Does love really rule the universe in this life? And in spite of what the poets and the philosophers and the preachers say about the importance of love, there seems to be plenty of evidence to the contrary. We're still struggling with this global pandemic as a possibility with more of a war with Russia looms over us. On the personal level, we have all seen evidence of pettiness and spite and hatred and selfishness. Most of us, including me, have been guilty of them from time to time. I know I have. What's love got to do with it? Who needs a heart when a heart can be broken? Asks the great Tina Turner. When we speak of the victory of love, if we speak of the victory of love, we need to acknowledge that events often do not go people's way. Love does not make that cancerous lump go away. Love does not pay the rent, though having a lovely landlord is certainly an incredible gift to anyone. Love will not guarantee you worldly success, that's for sure. You can probably get ahead in life, to use the phrase. It's far better if you just ignore any kind of love. And some people have tried this, thinking only of themselves, living rather insular and sometimes very successful lives. It's certainly doable, but for what? As Paul put it famously in his letter to the Corinthians, if I have not love, I am nothing but a clanging cymbal or a rusty gong. In other words, I can make a big noise in the world, great, but that signifies absolutely nothing. We could even try a working definition of love as that which makes life meaningful. Love is that which makes life meaningful. That covers everything from loving a particularly delicious piece of cheese to a lifelong commitment to a relative that needs continual care through physical challenges. Anything that brings us outside of ourselves, even just a little bit in a meaningful way, is certainly some kind of attraction and can probably be called some kind of love. Some are more meaningful than others, but it's all the same motion. Former minister of this congregation and a beloved colleague of mine, the Reverend Dawn Sangre, put it this way, because I asked her if love rules the universe, and she said yes, so I was relieved by that, because she's been a minister much longer than me. And she said, love is like the law of gravity, but for human relationships. It's how we are meant to be. Now, unlike the law of gravity, we can choose to not follow the law of love. We can resist it, be selfish, draw inward, be uncaring, not exhibit compassion. But love will keep pulling at us. Over the course of our lives, love is the strongest force of all. Take, for instance, a teacher. Works on a lesson plan late into the night, semester after semester. Loves the kids with all her heart, wants what's best for those shiny rows of faces, day after day for the whole year. And then the next year there's new classes, whole new faces, and she loves again, gives away her heart again. I've known quite a few teachers, and I think just about every teacher has had moments where he or she wonders what it's all for. All those early mornings, all those class planning documents, training seminars, all the worry about, did I really make an impact? Did I really do anything for these wonderful kids? And the answer is that love has already won in their life. Love has already won. It's not for me to say how many young people have been motivated by something that teacher said or did, how many held on to some spark years and years later. What's important, what's lasting, is that love, and that commitment has already shaped the teacher's life and probably many other people's too. Love has won. Or taking the civil rights marchers of the 60s, or for that matter, the 2020s, people gathering for change, risking their lives in some cases. That can be, and often is, an act of love, an act of devotion, an act of commitment. In the civil rights marches of the 60s, although there were a few scattered non-black allies, in many cases it was black and brown people marching to let other black and brown people know that they loved them, that they mattered. It was a fierce and gentle act of committed love towards people whose society often did not treat with love or even recognition. And so it was a revolutionary act. You can say the same of the civil rights marches and the Stonewall riots for the LGBT community, many of whom were marching so that somebody else knew that they were loved. Did the laws get changed? Yes. Did society improve? We can debate that, maybe, hopefully, in some ways. But no matter what, love was there. First and foremost, love was there. And love is carried in the bodies, in the heart of others. Many others who are black or brown or LGBTQ, of others who know that someone marched because they loved them. They carry that love throughout their lives. So how can we live this love in our own lives? How can we follow the stirrings of the law of relational gravity, those stirrings that draw us out of ourselves, away from our own egos, into the limitless, resuscitating oceans of the divine mystery? There are millions of manifestations of love. You can go to the food pantry or hug your grandchildren. You can declare that Black Lives Matter. You can plant a tree. You know this already. You've been figuring out what it might mean for love to win your whole life long in so many different ways. This has been your life story as well as mine. So in a way, if this is a simple sermon of encouragement, I'm okay with that. You're already heading in the direction of love. It's been your gravity the whole life long. Just keep on extending beyond selfishness, beyond fear, into compassion and justice making and active care for others, into love. Throughout this pandemic, we've been told over and over again to be cautious, to be safe. And these are wise sentiments in the midst of a disease that have taken the lives of over 5 million people worldwide. As Jenny said last week, each of us has been trying as best we can through our own perspective to care for others. That's part of what's happening here is an act of love. But I think as we open up, there is a little bit of emotional risk that we can be so tempted to withdraw into ourselves emotionally, as well as taking care to not harm others and keeping that distance. And we need to pay attention to the ways that love is calling us forth. For most of us, the pandemic has taken a considerable emotional toll. So even though it comes as natural as gravity, I don't think the work of love will be particularly easy for us in the next couple years. We may feel a little bit like a turtle that's been knocked on the head a few times, burrowed in our own shell. And if we have to come out, as sometimes we do, we're going to feel scared or angry or both. Love ain't easy. Loving well involves careful reflection and self-awareness. It involves boundaries and diligence. Love, like gravity, is more or less automatic, but loving well, like launching a satellite, involves great care and attention. But I do think it's worth the effort. Loving well is what we're built to do. From our universalist perspective, we are called to cast the circle of love as widely as we can. We are not God, and perhaps it is not possible for us to love absolutely everyone. But could we work on loving Democrat and Republican and Independent, or loving Christian and Muslim and Jewish and atheist? Can we love those who have a different opinion on vaccines and masking than us? Loving does not mean we have to agree. We do not need to think alike to love alike, to quote words attributed to the great Unitarian Francis David. But it means we do the work. We pick up the mop, we do the work of seeking to understand, seeking to reconcile, finding some reckoning of peace between people. After all, as people, we share so much. We're much more alike than we are different. It's hard work. It's messy work. The good news is, it's our work. Our imperfect, messed up, beautiful, and marvelous selves. We heard the story of the woman who asked Hosea Ballou if he believed God would really save all souls. The great universalist replied, "Do you intend to mop up the floor just as it is?" "Why," she replied, "I mop it up to clean it." "True," said Ballou. "You do not require it to be made clean before you consent to mop it up. God saves men and women to purify them. That's what salvation is designed for. God does not require people to be pure in order that he may save them." Now, I don't know what's waiting for us in the next world, but I know in this one we shall be saved by love. It happens time and time again, from lifelong commitments to a friendly conversation at the deli counter. We are saved by love. It's what gives life its meaning, its flavor. It's what draws us together, draws us out of ourselves into the ocean of love. Pick up the mop, do the work of love. Extend beyond ourselves, widen the circle. Take care, try to do the work of love well, and love will take care of the rest. And every day, in so many little and large ways, love wins. May it be so. Amen. Now we'll sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us.
sisters and brothers, brethren of all genders, friends, trust in love. Trust love. And I know you may have been hurt before. I know life throws some curveballs along the way. But trust love. Not because love will give you everything that you want. It doesn't always. But if you don't have love, if we're not doing it from the heart and soul of us, if we're not listening to that relational gravity that's bringing us out into the world and drawing out the best in us, then it's not worth wanting anyway. So let's love this world with all our heart. Make a few mistakes along the way and mop them up. It's not to worry about. Be who you are. Be that well. And let us love the world. Amen. So we extinguish the chalice as we do each Sunday with these words, the words on your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you for everybody who made this service happen. If you're watching on Zoom, I hope you might stay for our breakout rooms and get to know people. If you're here, might get to, in the sanctuary, get to know people as well.